Hello, and thanks for tuning in to End the News here at globaltalkradio.com. Today's guest is John M. Spagnoli. He is the author of Shadowed Soul and How to Grow Worslea Seeds. Now, he is an avid gardener, poet, husband, and father. He has a BA in anthropology and is currently working on his master's from Mercy College. Now, as a successful, self-managing, bipolar gentleman, John found solutions that have enabled him to form strategies toward leading a joyful life, which he's chosen to share in Shadowed Soul. Dedicated to raising awareness about depression, Shadowed Soul is the first in a fictionalized series that includes researched cases of manic depressives who beat it, as well as some of John's personal experiences. John, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me, Kevin. Thank you so much.
Well, tell us more about Shadowed Soul. Now, what exactly is it about? I mean, I'm looking at the book cover, and it sort of reminds me of Armageddon at midnight, right? With a snarling attack dog and a killer-looking guy with a weapon.
Yeah, awesome cover, isn't it? Shadowed Soul is a dramatic fiction novel about bipolar Thomas as he struggles to rebuild his life with aid of his blind wife, seeing eye dog, in present-day New York City. It's a metaphor as well as a hybrid self-help and drama fiction. It's like getting your broccoli with your ice cream. Shadowed Soul is a learning curve in entertainment. Really, Shadowed Soul is a compelling drama. It follows Thomas and his wife Beth as they embrace and endure the birth of their child through the holiday season in New York City. The fears and anxieties that plague Thomas are personified in the form of the Shadowed Soul, who is a demon who stalks the protagonist's every move. It feeds off his fears. It's climbing on his back, drooling on his head, making him say things he should not. As Thomas' manic depression escalates, his expectation for promise is answered in abundance. Now his life goes from great to bad to worse. With the unconditional love of his wife's dog, Bailey, he's able to rebuild his shattered life.
Some of your personal experiences are included in the book. To what extent would Shadowed Soul be considered autobiographical?
Much of the journey through manic depression is autobiographical. The suffering, the confusion, the fear, paranoia, and strategic planning for getting myself healed is saving my marriage and being a great dad to my son. One thing I wanted to note is I mentioned at the end of the book, and the author's note is that certain characters of the book do not pass away, and the main character's online pornography addiction was fiction, a topic shared by many people and many of the support groups I've been in. As male readership, as you know, guys tend not to read as much as females, but they need the self-empowering information about depression just as much. My goal in adding spice, as you say, is to depict clinical depression in a way that provides a clear roadmap to leading a full life and give the reader an engaging read, and not just a static self-help how-to that tends to lose the reader.
No, excellent. And you know, who wouldn't want healing and success for everyone? So, but how did you come from where you are to actually writing Shadowed Soul?
So, when I wrote the book, absolutely I did not intend to write a book. My goal was to survive another day, get my emotions on paper. I mean, to write my gardening book of Worslea Seeds for garden clubs, botanic garden, gift shops, but the seeds of depression seemed far too personal to share with public. Now, with the suicide attempt behind me, my dog is our only friend, I separated from my beloved wife for the millionth time, clinically depressed, unemployed, paranoid, self-destructive, and in need of a shave. With 20/20 hindsight, I was growing. Some people pay big bucks for hard times. They're challenged enough to make them grow. I got my challenge for free since childhood.
Well, that's
the upshot of the challenges left my life a wreck, but resulted in the work of Shadowed Soul, a new chapter in my life that turned out to be very fulfilling. In the end, my wife suggested Shadowed Soul would make a reasonably worthwhile book, so I fictionalized it, and well, here we are today.
Now, I can imagine that there's a pretty good percentage of our population out there that can relate to Shadowed Soul. We're almost out of time, but take a few seconds, and I'm kind of curious. How did you come up with that, with a creepy character, the Shadowed Soul that stalks you in the book?
Basically, about 121 million people are affected with depression in the world. And I hope my book helps people see the light at the end of the tunnel, not just a train. And the shadow soul is a personification of my worst fears and insecurities. The creature itself was not a hallucination at all, but imagined entity. And in the book, The Shadowed Soul, the creature is like a grisly, disgusting, worst kind of reptile that slobbers and claws and says horrifically rude things and just won't let the protagonist alone.
All right, and before I let you go, John, is there a website where people can find out more about you? And as you mentioned, I mean, there are so many people who are suffering from depression. This could be a tremendous help to them.
Absolutely. This definitely will be a help. TheShadowedSoul.com, and I have a Facebook page, Facebook.com, The Shadowed Soul, and I have an email, shadowedsoul11@gmail.com, where I'd love to hear feedback and hear stories from people that have read my book.
All right, well, we'll put a link up to theshadowedsoul.com. That'll make it easy for listeners to keep in touch with you. And again, we've been speaking with John Spagnoli. He is the author of The Shadowed Soul. And John, I want to thank you for all you're doing. Hope things are going well with you, and we'll have you back hopefully again in the future.
Great, thank you. Thank you for having me on Global